body over there.
Oh, yeah.
It might bring a boat.
There's a body over there? There's a body out here.
What's up, man? Hey, so you see that red? See that's over there? Okay. You can see it's like a hand kind of grabbing and like a head.
The person's on that body. You see that flag? The dog to the next, to the right.
Yeah, so you see that flag?
What began as a missing person case in Edwards, Mississippi would soon become one of the most outrageous domestic violence cases that the state had ever witnessed. On March 15, 2023, 36-year-old Ebony Owens did not present herself to work, and her family members realized that something went awry horrifically. In a few days, her husband, Michael Owens, would find himself behind the bars on the account of her murder. But the truth of his deceit would not be known until his chilling confession in the courtroom, when he acknowledged shooting his wife and disposing of her body in the Big Black River. This is the story of the tragic end of Ebony Owens, a loving mother whose life was cut short by the man who was meant to shield her. Ebony Owens was leading what seemed to be a normal life in Edwards, Mississippi, a small town in Hinds County. The 36-year-old mother of 4 children had constructed the life together with her husband Michael, living with her 2 children, a 7-year-old and an 11-year-old. Theirs appeared, to the eyes of the surrounding world, to be any other married couple in their struggle to cope with family life. However, their marriage was not exactly the image of a stable situation that it was behind closed doors. Their association, as would subsequently be revealed in the case of Michael Owens, had been characterized by his attorney as having been a rough, cheating relationship of suspicion, quarreling, and eventually, lethal force. On March 15, 2023, the family of Ebony Owens was worried after she did not appear to work on that day, which was a total contrast to the responsible mother. Her anxious family members called the police and reported her missing when she also ceased to pick up calls and messages. The thing they did not realize was that Ebony was already dead and had been murdered by the very one who should have been assisting in the search for her. The case took off at a rapid pace after Michael Owens became a subject of interest. Edwards' woman, 36, was missing March 15th. A few days later, her husband was accused of murdering her. The pace at which the charges were made indicated that the investigators had discovered strong evidence that indicated that Michael was involved in the disappearance of his wife. The first significant development in the case was made when on March 16th, the authorities located the car of Owens burning on the side of the road only minutes away to the residence owned by the couple in Edwards, where they lived with 2 of the 4 children of Ebony, a 7 and 11-year-old. Her burned white Acura TLX found along Old Highway 80 and Jones Road, and the fact that the license plate was located in the woods immediately brought red flags into the investigators. And this was no ordinary missing person case any longer. It had all the trappings of something far more serious. The intentional burning of the vehicle belonging to Ebony was an indication that somebody was attempting to destroy some evidence, and the fact that it was discovered so near the residence of the family made Michael Owens an immediate suspect. The investigation progressed, and the law enforcement officials started to put together what they thought had happened to Ebony Owens. Hinds County Sheriff Tyree Jones reported that a missing Edwards woman was killed by being shot. The cold statement of the sheriff verified what the family had been fearing most enough to actually murder Ebony, but not that she had been killed.
In March, her vehicle was also found burned on Old Highway 80. After questioning Owens about his wife's disappearance, authorities began search and recovery efforts for her body. Sheriff Tyree Jones says they spent 5 consecutive days.
The hunt to find the body of Ebony was a multi-agency task, with the investigators focusing their efforts on the Big Black River. The officers suspect that Owens was killed by her husband and her body was thrown in the Big Black River. The way the crime was planned, the shooting, the way the body was thrown away, the car burnt down, created an image of a thoughtful murderer who had attempted to conceal his footprint. Since it had been over a week of searching intensively, the tragic hunt of Ebony Owens ended on the 25th of March 2023. Ebony Owens is finally over, and the body of the Edwards mother of 2 was discovered in the Big Black River Saturday. Her remains being found in the murky waters had proved what investigators feared, and that Michael Owens did not just kill his wife, but simply discarded her body as though she was garbage. The unidentified body that was found in the Big Black River was identified as Ebony Owens, as per Hinds County Sheriff Tyree Jones. He also claimed that the search for her body has been closed, but the investigation is ongoing. The positive identification was a kind of closure to the grieving family of Ebony, but it was also the start of a long way to justice. The case against Michael Owens was building up at a very fast rate. As investigators went through the house of the couple, they found a nightmare scenario that narrated the last minutes of Ebony. The investigators reported that they found blood evidence at the home together with other important evidence that would be produced later in court. The material evidence created the clear picture of what had occurred in Edward's home. The guns and magazines were also retrieved at the location, and bloody blankets and clothes were also discovered, which would turn out to be the main evidence in the prosecution case. The systematic manner with which Michael had attempted to clean and dispose of evidence revealed an amount of premeditation that would come into play subsequently against him. As the case unfolded,
the charges Owens is facing include murder, third-degree arson, sexual battery of a minor, and 2 counts of sexual assault.
The other charges were added on Michael Owens than the murder charge. The 36-year-old also was found not guilty of other charges, which included arson and sexual battery of a minor. The arson charge related to the burning of Ebony's car, while the sexual battery charge suggested there were other dark secrets lurking within the Owens household. Despite pleading not guilty to all charges, the evidence against Michael Owens was overwhelming. The prosecution had physical evidence, circumstantial evidence, and most damaging of all, they would eventually have Michael's own admissions about what he had done to his wife. The community of Edwards and the broader Hinds County area were shaken by the brutal nature of the crime. This wasn't a random act of violence by a stranger, it was a calculated murder committed by a husband against his wife in the home where their children lived. The fact that 2 of Ebony's children had been living in the house where their mother was killed added another layer of tragedy to an already horrific situation. For Ebony's family, the discovery of her body was both a relief and a renewed source of pain. While they finally had answers about what had happened to their loved one, they also had to confront the reality that someone they had trusted, someone who was part of their family, had committed this unthinkable act. The murder case of Michael Owens started in September 2025, and the judges and lawyers packed the courtroom with family members, community members, and media representatives who were keen on knowing the whole story behind what happened to Ebony Owens. What they would hear throughout the trial would be more disgusting than anybody could have guessed. Prosecution presented their case in a systematic manner, giving evidence of the premeditation and planned violence. They presented the jury with the physical evidence that was discovered at the scene, the flammed car, and the place where the body of Ebony was discovered. But the strongest argument would be one which would come, surprisingly, that of Michael Owens himself. In an eye-catching verdict, many people were surprised that on September 5, 2025, the man accused of killing his wife in Hinds County took the stand. The appearance of the defendants in their own murder cases is usually regarded as a last resort of the defense side, and the testimony of Michael Owens would be just that. In the witness stand, Michael Owens gave his side of the story, which he said was his self-defense after finding his wife in bed with another man. Investigator Richard Brown testified that when Michael Owens and his wife were arguing, he saw him holding a gun in his hand and then shot her when he said, "I will shoot you," and Ebony Owens said, "I will shoot you." The testimony of Michael brought out the supposed instigating factor of the violence that claimed the life of Ebony. He alleged that when he got into their bedroom, he found his wife sleeping with another man, which made him violent. Nonetheless, evidence and witness testimony by investigators who had examined the scene contradicted his self-defense claim. In cross-examination, Brown established that Michael Owens had told different stories on what had occurred, which damaged his credibility and suggested that he was trying to find a story that would minimize his culpability. The fact that he had given multiple, inconsistent accounts of the events made it difficult for the jury to believe his version of a spontaneous act of self-defense. This was perhaps the most chilling aspect when Michael himself stated what he did after he shot his wife. Brown explained that Michael Owens had shot his wife, after which he had wrapped her body with a sheet and then got rid of it. A detective witnessing on Thursday said that Michael Owens shot and placed the body of his wife in a car. He then went to the Big Black River, where he threw her body over a bridge, as investigator Richard Brown claims. His actions during the cold-blooded post-shooting were a contradiction of the allegations that it was an impulsive act of killing in the heat of the moment. The method he had used in disposing the body of Ebony, burning her car, and his attempt to hide the truth about his crimes indicated that the actions were premeditated and that he had a hard, indifferent attitude of a woman he was supposed to love and to cherish. At trial, Michael tried to make their marriage seem bad but redeemable. According to WAPT, he told the court that a marriage is not easy. A marriage is something you make out of. A marriage is a job. We had good times, bad times, our points of disagreement. Their relationship, as he described it, of being just up and down, was badly lacking, considering the fact that this relationship had culminated in him shooting his wife and dumping her in a river. The jury discussed the fate of Michael Owens after listening to all his evidence and testimony. The case was too strong against him. His own confessions, the material facts, and the method and manner in which he had attempted to conceal his crimes were all productive of guilt on every charge. Michael Owens was convicted of the first-degree murder and third-degree arson. This first-degree murder conviction was of high importance, since it showed that the jury felt that it was planned and weighed down by the murderer, Michael, before he killed his wife, and that it was not a case of self-defense or crime of passion. Sentencing was an emotionally filled moment, and Judge in the Hinds County Circuit Court, Faye Peterson, spoke in a manner that portrayed the severity of the crimes committed by Michael. The judge was obviously overcome with the cruelty and egotism of what Michael had done, given that she had heard numerous cases in her lifetime. Very seldom does a case bother this very judge, Peterson said before I sentence. And yet, in the present case, when I listened to the testimony, I could not think of any word but selfish. What she was saying was not only the legal verdict on Michael Owens, but her moral criticism of his actions and the destructive effect they caused so many lives. The murder charge was upheld by Hinds County Circuit Court Judge Faye Peterson, who sentenced Michael Owens to life imprisonment, and this would mean that he would never be in a position to inflict another human being the way he had inflicted a victim on Ebony. The trial had given them a taste of justice, but it never could restore the woman they loved or undone the trauma that the actions of Michael had caused everybody who cared about Ebony. The case of Ebony Owens is indeed a tragic reminder of the horrifying truth about domestic violence. A female murder victim was a mother of 4 who should have been enjoying a good time at home, but instead was killed by the same man who was supposed to be on her side. Michael Owens will spend the rest of his life in jail, but his selfish deeds have destroyed 4 children and broken the lives of many others. The story of Ebony emphasizes the necessity to understand the red flags of domestic violence and help those who should leave the dangerous environment. Her memory should not only be remembered as a victim, but as a mother who loved her children and deserved much more than the destiny which happened to her. If you found this story important, make sure to like the video, subscribe for more, and share this message so we can spread awareness together. And don't miss our next video, where we uncover another powerful story you need to hear.